안녕하십니까. 제18회 세계 해양 포럼 해양 인문학.
Welcome everyone to the 2024 World Ocean Forum. I'm your host today, Chae Min-young. The Ocean Humanities session of the World Ocean Forum 2024 is being live streamed both in Korean and English channel. So please check the reference materials for the presentations at the official website of the World Ocean Forum 2024, and you can also leave your comments at the YouTube channel. And channel 1 is for Korean and channel 2 is for English. Before the session starts, we'll invite the Dean Chang Young-soo from Pugyong National University for welcome remarks. He sent his video. Good morning, everyone. I am Chang Young-soo, president of Pugyong National University. Every year, World Ocean Forum has selected important keywords that will impact the future of the ocean and suggested grand themes that can be connected to the ocean. Last year, it was blue taxonomy, and this year, ocean intelligence. And this year, we're going to talk about future ocean industry innovation that is based on the AI technology. I'm very honored to welcome you to this ocean where all the scholars and experts of the ocean gather together to talk about the future of the ocean. And in particular, the Ocean Humanities was launched in 2018, and every year it has suggested interesting topics. And this year, HK Plus of Pugyong National University has chosen AI era, how do we display the sea, which sounds very interesting and timely. Busan citizens have lived alongside the ocean for life, and they know how to deal with the ocean and what to do with the ocean, and they have always been at the front line of the ocean industry and future of the ocean. And now this year's theme is the AI technology. And I really hope that Busan will use this opportunity to strengthen its status as the front runner of the ocean and also seek solutions for the future. I thank all the panelists and discussants as well as presenters for their precious insights. And I also thank the HK Plus led by Mr. Kim Chang-kyung of Pugyong National University, who put together this important event. And the World Ocean Forum has now been building its presence, global presence so far. And I hope for the best for the humanities session too. And I wish all the participants great days and happy days ahead. Thank you.
인사 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 그럼 세계 해양
Thank you for the welcome remarks, President Chang. And let me give you our moderator today, Mr. Kim Chang-kyung, the head director of Humanities Korea Plus Research Group of Pugyong National University.
예, 반갑습니다.
Thank you for the introduction. So the topic of this session is AI era, how do we display the sea? So this session is the Ocean Humanities, and I am Kim Chang-kyung, head director of Humanities Korea Plus Research Group of Pugyong National University. I thank you all for joining us today, despite your busy schedule. My special thanks goes to all the presenters and panelists too. The HK Plus Research Group of Pugyong National University started this Ocean Humanities session in 2018. So we're celebrating the 7th year this year. And so far, our aim is to make sure that ocean feels friendly and close to all the participants. And it was also our aim to interpret the ocean-related issues from the perspective of the humanities. And in 2022, we focused on fishing community, and in 2023, we focused on 가덕도, which was hot, potato in those days. And this year, we chose AI era and the question, how do we display the sea? So we chose the theme of oceanic display in an era where we can take advantage of the AI technology. So we invited specialists and experts as presenters and discussants. So in our theme presentations, we'll be joined by display experts at galleries and museums. So there are 4 presentations, and that which is for the first part. And for the second part, we will open the round table discussion, where all these presenters and panelists who have expertise in display and exhibition will have discussions. So we'll invite the first presenter, Baek Seung-ju, who's an exhibition team leader of National Maritime Museum of Korea. So,
2024년에
And in 2024, she has organized an exhibition titled 조행일록, The Korean Odyssey to the West Sea. We are going to invite Ms. Baek for the first presentation. Please come up to the stage.
네, 안녕하세요.
Good morning. My name is Baek Seung-ju, and I'm an exhibition team leader of National Maritime Museum of Korea. And in this Ocean Humanities session, we have the theme of AI era. How do we display the sea? So it's a great pleasure to have an opportunity to speak in front of you. So at my museum, I have been working there for a long time, and I've thought about the theme ocean many times before. And I will give you some examples from the National Maritime Museum of Korea. So what kind of exhibitions we have organized, and what kind of exhibitions we are planning, and what are the challenges ahead of us. And the title of the presentation is Achievements and Challenges of Exhibitions at the National Maritime Museum of Korea. So I have 3 sections in my presentation. First, I will introduce the National Maritime Museum of Korea, because some of you have never heard of the museum before. And afterward, I will share some examples of the past exhibitions. And in the last section, I will share our future exhibition plans and the challenges and concerns we have. And let me introduce the National Maritime Museum of Korea. We are located in Busan. To be more specific, we are located in an island named Yeongdo. So we have the ocean right in front of our museum, and it is a beautiful architectural building. And the site is 45,000 square meter, and total floor area is 25,000 square meters. So it is one of the bigger museums in Korea. And we have a total of 4 stories. We have 2 stories dedicated for permanent exhibition halls, and we have the special exhibition hall along with the children's museum and media art gallery, as well as aquarium. And every year we have about slightly less than 1 million visitors. So we are one of the popular museums in Korea. The museum was the construction began in 2009, and it was opened in 2012. And we celebrated the 10-year anniversary in 2022. And last year, we celebrated the 10 million mark of the number of visitors, and we renovated 2 permanent exhibition halls. And this year, we are remodeling the Children's Museum, and this way, we are constantly developing our museum. And this museum is operated under the Museum of Oceans and Fisheries, which differentiates the museum from other museums in Korea. And we have a dedicated act for the museum. So here we discover, preserve, research, and exhibit the heritage of marine culture and marine fisheries. And we have this mission and vision we would like to achieve. And to do so, we host exhibition, academic activities, as well as a collection. And we have organized more than 68 exhibitions. And for academic activities, we hosted 22 academic conferences and published 39 books about marine history. And we have collected 29,000 precious maritime cultural heritage items, and they are preserved in a safe environment. And let me share our past exhibitions and achievements. And we would like to become a comprehensive maritime exhibition hall. That is why we deal with many related themes such as history, culture, art, environment, industry, and science. By doing so, we share the culture of the ocean to the public in a familiar and easier manner. And I cannot introduce all of the exhibitions we have hosted, so I will share the major exhibitions we have organized. And if you are interested, you can visit our website or social media account. So let me talk about exhibitions on marine history and culture first. In 2016, we had the exhibition named The Age of Discovery, and we also had an exhibition on the history of development of lighthouses. And we also had an exhibition on sea routes of Buddhism. And we have some rare old maps, and which were the topic of one exhibition. And 2022, celebrating the relationship between Korea and China, we hosted an exhibition on maritime civilization exchange between these two countries. And right now we are displaying this exhibition called 조행일로, the Crane Odyssey to the West Sea. And one officer in rural area during Joseon Dynasty, he recorded the process of moving the goods to other cities. And that's how we organized this special exhibition. And it will continue until October 27th. So if you are interested, please visit the museum and enjoy the exhibition. And we have been hosting art and media art exhibitions as well. And the theme is always the ocean. In particular, last year, we had a media art exhibition hall, which was newly opened. And we utilized the interactive media video. And the theme was the exploration of the age, and it was well received by the visitors. And we also think environment and science exhibitions are important. And we have been hosting this kind of exhibitions constantly since the opening. And policy and science are the themes we work on together with the relevant ministries. As such, the museum is not confined to the Korean history. We deal with the ocean in a comprehensive manner so that we can communicate the ocean-related culture to the public. These are our achievements for the past 5 years, and this is the average satisfaction score for exhibition, and our score has increased constantly. And we conducted a survey, and we found out that there is a larger portion of local people visiting the museum recently. That means the quality of the exhibition has improved. And this is the achievement on the number of visitors. Due to COVID-19, from 2019 and to early 2022, we had some limitations. And for the reopening of the permanent exhibition hall, we had to do some construction in 2022. So we didn't see an impressive number of visitors during the period. However, we normalized our operation last year, so there has been a significant increase in the number of visitors since then. And let me share our future exhibition plans and challenges. Going forward, we will host international exchange of a heritage exhibition, an exhibition of academic achievements, and application and expansion of new technologies to exhibition. These are our targets. And we will have an international exchange more than once every year. And this year, we are working with the National Maritime Museum of the UK. And next year, we will celebrate the 60th anniversary of Korea-Japan diplomatic relations. So we are working with Japan to host an exhibition on that. And these are our plans for academic exhibition. And we will have an exhibition on the research of documents from the Joseon Dynasty regarding the management of Ulleungdo. And in 2026, we will have an exhibition on the research achievements of the Secrets of the Sea nautical chart collection. And this is the plan to utilize AI technology, and this is a very important project to host innovative exhibition in the era of AI. We are making diverse efforts. First, we are expanding and developing the media exhibition environment. The museum opened a media exhibition hall last year, and in the end of this year, we are going to install a large-scale media wall on the first floor of the museum. Taking one step further, we will build a new complex pavilion, and we will accommodate large-scale relics, and this will be a multi-purpose hall where we can provide a training. And I believe that this will add to the capacity of the museum. AI, AR, and VR, these new technologies will be utilized into our immersive exhibition hall, and the importance of maritime heritage will be emphasized in the AI simulation. On top of that, we are going to tap into metaverse by building a platform so that all the maritime organizations can exchange knowledge and find the ways for cooperation. And we will provide training through metaverse. So in virtual space, we can have more opportunities for exchange, and major maritime institutions around the world could share their own maritime heritage on this metaverse platform. And for these projects to be successful, we need the technological infrastructure and human resources and the legal foundation. So as such, we try to adopt AI technologies to expand our horizon at the museum. And I shared some plans which are still in its infancy. However, we will try our best and open a new era of museum and exhibition in a creative manner. I talked about the present and future of my museum, and if you have any questions or if you have anything you would like to discuss, you can talk to me during the discussion or you can send me an email. Thank you very much.
백승주
Thank you very much, Ms. Beck. And the presentation was about the exhibitions hosted by the National Maritime Museum of Korea. She shared the past, present, and future of the museum, and she also shared her future plans. And it was a very detailed presentation. I believe that due to a time constraint, she couldn't share everything, but I believe that we can talk about the theme more in the discussion later.
한결 전남
We will invite the second presenter, Professor Kim Han-ge from Jeonnam National University. Professor Kim Han-ge has an expertise in history and theories of galleries and museum and collections, and also studies of museums and also 18th century French history. And the topic of presentation today is the history and future of maritime museums, embracing the world through the intellectual tradition of natural history and cutting-edge exhibition techniques. Please welcome the presenter with a round of applause.
네, 방금 소개받은 전남대학교
Thank you very much for the introduction. I am Han-ge Kim from Jeonnam National University. Thanks for having me and thanks for the opportunity. And as someone doing the research in the humanities, it's an extreme honor to stand here. And previous presenter was delivering the presentation in a very exquisite manner, a very calm manner. So that's really inspiring. The title of my presentation is long. The history and the past, and also today's trend of the maritime museums is what I'm going to share with you. So there are two parts. The first part is our curiosity and adventure into the oceans, where we can look for the origin and start of the Maritime Museum. And the second part of my presentation is how museums today are seeking to embrace the world through their displays and exhibitions. So first part of my presentation is how the development of the human civilization is filled with or triggered by the curiosity towards the ocean. And focusing just on the Western history, the Mediterranean civilization and all these empires that started in the oceanic region and areas includes in them the natural history and the artifacts and marine specimens. So the natural history is also about visualizing the artifacts and specimens collected from the ocean, and those artifacts and specimens became the collection for the very first museums, maritime museums and natural history museum. So natural history is what could be a little unfamiliar topic, but it all started in 19th century and it can encompass various areas, studies for plants and animals. So I am going to share with you some images. So before the development of the natural history, I mentioned how all this collection started with the curiosities about the oceans. So I'd like to call this cabinet of curiosities. And this image was quite popular in the 16th century, and it's called the Cabinet of Curiosity. So you can see all these exotic and non-routine or non-daily specimens collected from the oceans. So, well, in those areas, it was mostly about those collections from the oceans, exotic things. And you can also say that this is a miniature of nature. So that was the trend we can see that started in the 16th century. And this is the curiosity cabinet of Ferrante Imperato. And if you look at the ceiling, you see the crocodile, alligator, and all these crustaceans and fishes and of course, back in those days, there is no taxonomy or categories as we know today. But all this attempt to analyze and categorize the natural specimens started in those days. And the next image is the curiosity cabinet of Oleoform of 17th century, and you can also see the specimens, oceanic specimens, hanging from the ceiling. And what I'd like to point out here is that ceiling was the optimal place for such exhibitions because there's no barrier. So they treated their ceiling as a sea of their imagination or platform where they can lay out their imagination. So collecting specimens was the start of everything, and also it was sort of a representation or revival of the sea. And what's interesting here is that if you see the right bottom, or you see the little drawers or boxes, and you can also see the names, Latin names that refer to each specimen. So there was some sort of categorization back in those days too, even though it's not as complicated or complicated as it is today. So they try to collect the really curious things, what they regarded as precious, and they try to categorize those things and try to come up with scientific, in their own way, scientific ways of analysis. And this image is the early days oceanic specimen collection. And this is the very first form of marine collection that could go into maritime museum. And the person you see is John Tredescant, who was a famous gardener. And this is from the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. And in this museum, John Tredescant collection is displayed as the very first form of marine collection and marine specimens. And this picture is the realization, modern day realization of this painting. So this is what you can find in the Garden Museum in London. And this image is also the Curiosity Cabinet in Austria, in Ambras. So you can see corals, and of course there's not so much a system as we know today, but you can see the visualization of a certain type of categorization here. And in the 18th century, It was most about the adventure for scientific purpose, and the person here is Sir Joseph Banks. And along with James Cook, Captain James Cook, he sailed to Canada and other lands. And the objects that he used and the marine specimens he collected, he donated to the British Museum in London, which is now forming the very backbone of the museum collection. And I'm bombarding you with a lot of information, but I'd like to add one more. If you go to France, there's a Natural History Museum of France, well-organized, well-established organization. And Buffon, he was the early days head of the museum, and you can see the 18th century drawing where we can see the collections of marine specimens, and you can see the categories, which is better organized compared to the previous drawings and paintings because of the taxonomy contributed to by Buffon and Linnaeus, all this taxonomy system. So thanks to this taxonomy and lineage system, all these marine collections were able to be categorized into more organized and systemized categories. So based on all this legacy and traditions, the modern day exhibition, marine exhibition, certainly has some trends, which will be the second part of my presentation. So the first trend is all these marine collections and displays are taking advantage of all these cutting-edge technologies. They're very sensitive to technologies like VR, AR, and AI, because the ocean is the place where we can only have limited experience in our daily lives. So in order to indirectly experience it, sometimes you have to fully accept the technological help from these technologies, VR, AR, immersive experiences, and other interactive technologies. And another thing where you can experience this type of technologies is online tours. And another trend is the underwater exhibition with the help of digital technology. So the very old specimens and the things that are owned by someone who's afar, they can't be physically moved easily. So sometimes you just have the digital replication. And another trend is environmental focus. So marine collection and exhibitions is highly sensitive. We're keen to environmental issues. So they always make sure that they represent such value in a really effective manner. So sustainability, water consumption, and pollution, coexistence are sometimes what you can see from those collections and exhibitions. And what you see here on the slide is more closely related to the legacy part of the collection. And this is Amsterdam Marine Museum, and that Maritime Museum. And you can see the historical approach or the approach from the perspective of natural history. And it's really, it has a display that makes sure that you are really mentally satisfied by just looking at it. And there are a lot of prominent exhibitions that are great. And this is Monterey Bay Aquarium. And with these creatures, well, we can't see them every day because they live deep down in the sea, and they have videos featuring all these creatures. So it's very it gives you very exotic sense of experience. And this is the French exhibition, and it's now on view. And you can see all sorts of media where you can have indirect experience of the deep sea and diving into the ocean, diving into the unknown exhibition by Natural History Museum of France, and immersive displays by James Cameron. And this is National Maritime Museum of Korea exhibition. And there's also a campaign, environmental campaign under the oceanic themes on view at Australian National Maritime Museum in Sydney. So we just took a look at some modern trends, and just by following the history of the maritime collections, we could see the history of human curiosity about the oceans and how people saw the ocean as a place for coexistence. And maritime collection and maritime exhibitions have played a role in reflecting or inflecting those perspectives through those collections. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
예, 발표해 주신 김한
Thank you very much, Professor Kim. So we are dealing with a grand discourse, very grand theme, the history and perspective of the Maritime Museum and collection. So we took a look at the history of the human. So one ocean, one future was what came to my mind. And I think that pretty much sums up the topic of this session.
상학부
Now, Professor Ko Ju-won of the Seoul Institute of the Arts will have a presentation on AI exhibition in the age of AI, creating beyond the taxidermy. In 2008, he directed Korea's first media facade on the exterior wall of Seoul City Hall, and since then he has continued to develop immersive content production based on cutting-edge video, including the world's largest holographic performance, the opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympic Games, and expo exhibitions. Please welcome Professor Go to the podium.
안녕하세요.
Good morning. As introduced, my name is Ko Ju-won. He said that I featured in the Olympic Games. I didn't. And I directed the video for the opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympic Games. And today, my theme is AI exhibition in the age of AI, creating beyond the taxidermy. And I thought about this title for a week because we have AI and digital exhibition. In these two are still ongoing development, and the development is happening very fast. So we cannot say that it is a one type of art yet. However, this is clear. Museum and exhibition are still dealing with the past, and digital and AI have the concept of creation. That is why, how can we include the future in the museum's activities? This is the question we have to ask ourselves. And recently, in the field of exhibition, digital videos have been in the highlight. It has been actively used for the past 5 years, and this is not a mere change of the method of creation, but the change of the environment entirely. So in the past, the exhibition on relics always had glass boxes and frames, and it was very static environment. That is why the experience was about the space only, and the viewers stayed in the space and just imagined the time from the prehistoric era and up to date. And we made assumptions, and we had to do rounds of interpretation, and we needed so much information to understand the exhibition. However, now we have the moving image, which entails time and space in the first place. Why is that? Video has the designated time of playing, so we have to stay until the end of the video to understand the content. That means the creator decides the viewing time. So he makes 5-minute video, and the creator can decide how long the viewer has to stay. However, no matter how well known the painting is and how famous the relics are, the viewer can decide how long they are going to stay there. So this is the biggest difference. So the moving image entails time and space at the same time. And what does that mean? The moving image makes people and the viewer passive. That is why in the past we had to read the text to understand the heritage, and we had to imagine the time of the past based on the narrative. But we developed this habit of intuition. And intuition has a great advantage, but at the same time, it diminishes people's activity and dynamism of thoughts. But the biggest advantage of intuition is that museum can bridge the gap between learning and fun. So we provide information to people, and we display new types of relics. Then viewers have to make efforts to learn about them. However, it is less fun. But what about the interactive media and video? We experience the content and we view it and we experience it directly, so it is more fun. But if we only focus on fun, the learning abilities could be compromised. So we have to find a balance. But if we tap into intuition, we can strike the balance. And I brought one exemplary video, and in 2019, there was this new policy built, and it was called Immersive Digital Gallery, and this video was used for that gallery. So 60-meter by 50-meter screen, and this video is played permanently throughout the day. And I remember that there were 6 videos, and it is 100% video space. So when we built this space for the first time, there was controversy because most of the national treasures are stored in the trove, so they cannot be displayed to the public, but we can display them through the video. But even though it was a source of controversy, I see more advantages of this because people are drawn to this. People are interested in this because of intuition. They don't have to interpret the content, but by just viewing the video, they can cherish the content. And another advantage is related to the visual principle and the principle of a human body. And when you look at the space, please look at the edge. The edge is curved, not sharp. And I strongly recommended to have this curved edge because just like this space, we have this box type space with different walls, but the sharp edge is a regular space. It is just like our room and school and offices. They are nicely square and we have different walls, but we have to make connection between these walls if you want the people to see it as one screen and one image. That is why I made the edge curved. It was effective. Even though the screen was 60-meter long, people could experience the immersive content on a single screen. And why do we need this? Because we want to present the immersive content, and size matters here. So if we spend more money, we can make it bigger, but it is not about that. Size itself decides the level of immersion. And we have many immersive space these days, and there are many visitors. And why is that? The IMAX theater and the regular theater have the same level of resolution, but people are still willing to pay more for IMAX. The same goes for the immersive hall. So this is about VR, and we use this term called the field of view. And this is basically the viewing angle of humans. And how wide the viewing angle for human body? Amazingly, it is almost 200 degrees. It differs depending on individual, but it is clearly wider than 180 degrees. So throughout our life, we do not adjust our lenses such as like camera. We just look at the wide screen of 180 degrees. So when we call something immersive, we have to ensure the viewing angle wider than 180 degrees, because people might feel that it is narrow when it is less than 180 degrees. So we watch 85-inch TV at home, and we watch smartphone screen, and we visit the theater. But the viewing angle at maximum is 120 degrees, and we still think that that is wide. However, our nature to look at the surroundings has a wider angle, which is about 180 degrees. That's what we have materialized in the immersive exhibition hall. And let me talk about AI from now. I didn't study AI for a long time, so I gave this a thought for days. And I thought about the features of AI. And for starters, give me a second. AI utilizes a huge amount of data instead of focusing on one artifact. So it combines vast amounts of data, and it creates through generative tools, and it transforms the prototype of the artifact to create something new. So collecting and archiving data is one story, but creating something unexpected out of it is another story. And I brought another example. So in 2018, AI was still beginning, but in Los Angeles, there is Walt Disney Concert Hall. And it was a projection mapping content created there. And Walt Disney has a college of arts, and they have this concert hall. And LA Philharmonic celebrated its 100 years, and they combined all the visual and audio data they have. It was as large as 45 terabytes. And they combined the data through machine learning, and they displayed this video on the facade wall. And one music was expressed in different ways, and one content was interpreted in different ways. So 100 years was combined into a single content. What does that mean? This data, so this outcome is an objective data, and at the same time, it was something new. And the producers of this content, their intention was partially reflected. So this content is objective and subjective at the same time. And even though this is a single video, the outcome was created by artificial intelligence, so it is different from human-made CG. And that was the biggest characteristic of AI-based project. And how AI technologies could be cherished as a form of culture and art content. And let me talk about the characteristics of AI-created content. And one of the features is to exclude the ideology of a creator. The intention of the creator will be fully reflected in CG. However, computer makes this consent, so it can exclude the ideology of a creator. And big data is used to imagine the humankind. And the origin of AI data is not the imagination of machines, but the data accumulated by humans. We say that this content was created by machines, but the computational work was done by machines, but the data itself was accumulated by humans. For the past 20 years, we have recorded so many things on the website. And these data are used for the content. And mostly, AI made vague images. However, now we are seeing more concrete images based on patterns. So let me share my own AI-created content. And this is the history of Korean houses, Korean traditional houses. So it is a short video clip. So this is the house from the prehistoric era, and we have skyscrapers in these days. So you can see the transformation. So I accumulated data of houses in different days and periods. And you can see the transformation in a single content. So it was my intention, not the intention of the computer. So at the end of the day, you can see the house of the future, and AI still can make a prediction for the future. And lastly, let me talk about AI and the sea, which is the theme of this session. And as the previous speakers said, we believe that we know the sea. However, it is still unknown to humans, and we will remain this way because we live on land. We cannot live in the sea, so we didn't see the deepest part of the sea. So in other words, we just have an understanding of the shallow sea, but we have to imagine the whole sea based on what we have seen. So I just showed you the content where the prehistoric house transforming into a new building. As such, I believe that the AI could help us imagine the whole thing based on what we have seen. And what are the implications for the future? At the current stage, we are focused on video. That's how we organize AI and digital exhibitions, but that is just another form of visual and audio art. It is viewing and listening. However, as I have emphasized, AI can utilize all the data accumulated by humanity. So scent and temperature and humanity and all the senses of humans can be used and created based on the data. So going beyond the video and audio, we can create an exhibition using all of the 5 senses of a human body, and AI can play a critical role here. Instead of merely changing the viewing method, we can change the fundamental question, which is what exhibition means. So instead of imagining the past only, we can recreate the times of the past. That could be the future purpose of the exhibition. And these days, there is a rapid expansion of immersive content. And relics are from the distant past. And in the past, we had to analyze and interpret the relics, but now we can intuitively understand them through our content. This will not stop at mere facts, because museums were past-oriented. However, there will be a new role in creating current relics for future museums. Thank you very much.
예,
Thank you, Professor Ko. The title itself was fresh. He mentioned taxidermy in the title, and the exhibition hall was limited in the past, but the moving image can tap into space and time at the same time, and he talked about the role of AI in materializing such exhibition. So we will continue to talk in that discussion.
장인학회 회장
We'll invite the 4th presenter, President Cho Jung-hyung of Korea Society of Marine Design, and his presentation topic is Busan Type Space Creation and Cultural Introduction through the Introduction of the Undersea Art Museum in the AI Era. Professor Cho is an advisor to Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries and Steering Committee of Korea Coalition of Marine Policy and also North Port Future Forum, and he's been with the Korea Society of Public Design from the very early days as a standing director and vice president. Please welcome the presenter with a round of applause.
네, 반갑습니다.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for such a kind introduction. And I happen to be the last presenter. So we are gathered in Busan. So my talk will be centered around Busan. And as was mentioned by Professor Ko, previous speaker, I completely agree to his opinion when he said that 5 senses are important. So either through computer or phone, we use Google Earth. And the reason why I'm showing this to you is we have such a diverse participants from different regions, but sometimes we are just confined in our very typical thought frame. And we first only think of the land because we live on them. So we rarely think of the ocean when we think about the Earth. So we rotate the Earth 180 degrees like this. So it could be a vision trick, or maybe it's just our thoughts, but we now start to see the ocean first. So I always say the start of Pacific is Busan, and I am in Busan. So I'll first take a look at the current status of Busan, and then the underwater museum and the museum or 바다 미술관. So we always look for something different. And Busan is also seeking something different, something that can set the city apart from other cities. So what is that cultural space? And Busan is suffering from the so-called brain drain. All the talented people go to Seoul and capital area looking for jobs. So Busan is, well, some people jokingly say how Busan has old people and the sea. That's all it got. And you can feel that demographic structure is changing in Busan. And you can literally see the population decreasing, as you can see on this slide. So we used to call Busan a second city, the second city of Korea. But if the trend goes on, Incheon will become the second city in terms of population, at least. So what is the reason of this current trend? And this slide shows the net drain of population. So more than 10,000 people leave Busan for other cities like Seoul and Gyeonggi province. And this is not just limited to Busan. Other local cities are suffering from the same issues. And another issue of Busan in terms of demographic structure is that old people are increasing. The share of the old age population is increasing. So the name Busan came from how Busan looked like, because it looked like a big pot, hence the Chinese words. So the image of Busan port from 1748 to 2007, it was mostly a container port for trade. So Busan needed to change its image, and they started developing the North Port with all this 3-phased development plan. and currently they're standing at second phase. And they have all this plan and vision, and are they going in the right direction is something that we have to ask ourselves. But what I see is that they only focus on their superficial or how they appear on the outside. So all these landmarks and the bird eye view, they all look beautiful, night and day, the beautiful scenes, but what they actually are forming into is a little bit different than these visions and bird eye view. So then I think it's time to think about the oceanic environment. So we live outside the ocean, but what does it look like in the ocean, underwater? So the environment comes in. So outside the water, everything looks beautiful, all these buildings and bridges, but if you go underwater, this is what you see, and it's hardly captured by us. So this marine debris consumed by the marine species, and we also talk about the microplastic and particulate matters, and these are all oceanic environment issue that we have to also consider. And 88% of the marine species are negatively impacted by marine debris, according to an authoritative report. So this sort of gives us an insight into what we should look into going forward. In Cancun, Mexico, Cancun is a really famous marine leisure city. And we can find a very innovative experience that's done in Cancun. It was the very first attempt, and it's MUSA, Underwater Museum of Art. And Americans go to Cancun a lot for their holiday times in summer. And Cancun realized that they should try something different, and that's how they designed Underwater Museum. And it was the first museum underwater, 14 meters underwater. Well, usually you go to 25 meters deep when you dive. And this museum is located 14 meters underwater. And they found a lot of marine debris and garbage. So when cleaning the ocean, Jason Taylor, a sculptor of the UK, came up with an idea that is very unique. Which is building the structure or monument using cement, sands, and pebbles, and he spent 18 months to make these. And so he is Taylor, Jason Taylor, and it's his works. And 13 years have passed since, and they have now 140 hotels, attracting a lot of tourists from all around the world. So maybe we can refer to this case as a model example, and we can think of our own type of underwater museum. Because his underwater artworks wanted to make sure that they reflect what their native people are, in terms of identity. So he actually used the native people as models to make this statues and monuments and put them underwater. It's what they look like. So this space serves as sort of a museum, of course, but Korea is now suffering from coral bleaching, and if you go underwater in a coastal area of Busan, you can hardly see because you can't have any visual because of the dirty water. So Busan at some point started to plant all these artificial coral reefs, but now they are starting to become sort of a source of pollution. So maybe we can turn them into some type of art structures, and that would be certainly helpful to monitoring the environmental condition of the ocean. And they can also be open 24/7 to visitors. And we can also think of combining AI technologies that can suit the Korean situation. And we can also combine the future type media art technologies. And we can certainly create something that is uniquely Korean and yet universal in terms of art collection. So some things we have to consider: Korea's IT and monitoring marine debris and global warming, including the coral bleaching. So maybe we can use this opportunity to attract marine species that once left the Busan Ocean back into the area. And it can also be, of course, an opportunity for many young artists in Busan to go global through the exhibitions. So there are many blue ocean or opportunities in Asia. And I have been focusing on this topic as my research theme for some time. And I published a lot of articles on this. So maybe we can, if we can combine marine engineering and marine culture that we can find uniquely in Busan, then we can create something very different and very unique to Busan. And it can also contribute to the development of marine culture that is centered around Busan. So if we can come up with a very unique agenda that can combine all this value, and this is certainly another topic where we can have discussions on this type of forum. So I think I used up all my time, and if you have any questions, I'd welcome them. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Chow. The Underwater Museum is a new theme, and I think it gave us a good food for thought and a good topic for discussion. So this is the wrap of the presentation session, and after taking some 6-minute break, we'll start the discussion session at 11:20. Thank you.
예, 시간이 되어서 저희들 이제
So welcome back to the discussion sessions. We have invited our presenters along with the panelists for this session for lunch. And if you have any questions or comments about the topic of the session, you can save them until the end because we will have Q&A session. And let me give you our panelists. Professor Kim Tae-man from Korea Maritime and Ocean University. He has been the head of the Korean National Maritime Museum and also an advisor to the Society of Chinese Studies. And he's also the Policy and Design Committee member for the Moon Jae-in administration and advisor to the National Equal Development Commission and also Cultural and Art Commission of Busan City. So we will get down to business. Let's do that without further ado.
It's a great pleasure to meet you, and I didn't expect such nice introduction, so I feel flattered. So this is a meaningful occasion, and we are here to talk about how to display the sea in the era of artificial intelligence, and it's a great honor for me to join you here. And I listened to 4 of the presentations, and they were all impressive. And in October last year, I believe that it was in Changwon. There is a Democracy Film Festival, and one of the films was called AI, and Lady Suro, Queen Suro. So Kaya was founded by Lady Suro, and from scenario to production, everything was done by AI, and it was a 20-minute film. So it was very eye-catching as a viewer, and it was the very first AI-created film in Korea, and it was shocking. And different countries in East and West, there have been many films produced by artificial intelligence. I looked it up, and AI involved in some of the scenario work, and it involved in the later part of the production, not only the film, but also literature as well. And the same goes for music. And there is a song titled I Am AI, and AI actually composed the song. So without any explanation, I cannot distinguish whether the song was composed by human or artificial intelligence, which is a new technology. So we cannot make a distinction right away. And it was briefly mentioned in Professor Go's presentation. And Rapinardo, an artist, used the entire wall of Guggenheim and made a video art. So it was such a masterpiece. And not only rapping another, we had a Korean company called District, which is 24 years old. And in Samsung-dong, they displayed a video with wave in the ocean, and it shocked the people passing by the street, and it was directly connected to Manhattan. And they also displayed the image of a waterfall in the corner of Times Square in Manhattan. So as such, there have been various achievements using AI or with the involvement of AI. So instead of creating arts merely using AI, we can take one step further, just like our theme. AI could direct and curate the exhibition. And there has been experiments already. There was one case in Taiwan. So at the Science Hall, AI curated an entire exhibition. And as we saw in one of the presentations, the National Maritime Museum of Korea, 2 years ago, hosted a special exhibition on sailing era, and it was a surrounding media hall which gives the image 360 degrees. And it was about Busan basically, but it was a short video about the history of oceans and sailings of humanities. So AI is already in our daily lives. We say that we have to study AI, and AI is a new technology, but it is already deep in our daily lives. So we listened to 4 remarkable presentations, and National Maritime Museum of Korea is the only maritime museum in this country, and we heard about various exhibitions. And it goes beyond the visual angle of human. So the immersive content was also covered in the presentation. And the National Maritime Museum already displayed such a video 3 years ago. And the title was The Imagination of 10 Years, and it was very popular. And sailing era was there too. And digital media hall, digital media pavilion will be constructed. I believe that it will be a meaningful space. When I was working at the museum, so it could be called a bird's eye view. We didn't have that before, but we have the bird's eye view now. So I can see the project is going well. It's good news. And the directing technique, the new directing technique is expanded through metaverse. The different maritime museums across the world could enjoy networking on metaverse, and we can have the rotating exhibition through the metaverse platform. And I hope to see the continuous progress on that project too. And these cases will be helpful to expand the exhibition hall we have. The most important thing is for the maritime exhibition. So there have been various examples covered in the presentations. We have ocean, environment, ecology, and climate change, and marine industries, logistics, and port. There are so many items and areas where AI can be applied. The problem is not only the science industry. I believe that arts and humanities should be combined to those projects. The oceanic technology advancement should be combined with humanities so that the general public could have a better awareness of the maritime industry. That's where the maritime exhibition and maritime museums can play a critical role. And in the process, you can tap into AI technologies in different ways. I believe that there are already ongoing projects, including the underwater art museum. So underwater is a space where people cannot have access every day. And Avatar, the third episode of Avatar dealt with the ocean, and director James Cameron visited the deepest sea we can access, which was 11,000 kilometers deep. And oceanic space is suffering from marine litter. But we cannot go deep in the sea together. That is why we can make content and video through AI for the general public, and we can display the Mariana Sea, which is at 11,000 kilometers deep, in the content which can be displayed at the wall of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. And what was interesting in Professor Go's presentation is that AI seems to be able to do everything. However, AI needs the basic data accumulated by humanities. They can edit the data, but they cannot generate data. But if they can generate data, still, the source should be given by humans. That is why AI and humankind should coexist for mutual development. Then, what can humans do? The most important role we can play is archiving the source of a maritime culture we have accumulated as mankind. That will be the source of data which can be utilized by artificial intelligence. And many research institutes have collected data on history and people and industries related to the oceans. We have collected the data, however, in a more comprehensive manner. We have to conduct an archiving project. So we have an officer from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and I hope to see this kind of comprehensive project, because AI technologies are developing so fast. But to utilize such technologies for the maritime exhibition, we need basic data, and we have to build the data sets. So we should do the archiving of the data for the future development of the maritime exhibition. Thank you very much.
해양박물관
So he was the director of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. That's why he wanted to say so many things, but I asked him to wrap it up because of a time constraint.
님
Next panelist is Professor Lee Myung-hee from Dongsa University, and she designed the Kamcheon Cultural Village project for Kamcheon, Idong, and Sahagu, Busan. And she's done a lot of research and project for realizing social value of design. Thank you for the introduction. I am Professor Lee Myung-hee from Dongsa University. And to further elaborate on my research interests, I am interested in community-based service design and sustainability, and I also teach in that area. And listening to the presentations by experts, the real experts, I realized how shallow my knowledge in this area is. But I'd like to share what I felt through the experiences, and also add my version of interpretation of what was mentioned in the presentations. So all the presentations had the major keywords in this topic. The presentations by Professor Kim and the Underwater Museum. So when I got asked to be a panelist for this session, I visited Maritime Museum for the first time. I'm sorry, my apology. And it was a really eye-opening experience. And I really had an amazing experience along with the Jeju University Museum exhibition. So really impressive and touching even. So the mobile exhibition and all these technologies and the legacy, I really enjoyed the presentations. And among the keywords, Busan AI sustainability and future are the 4 keywords that I extracted from the presentations. So unique Busanness, or the characteristic of Busan that could be combined with the AI technology. So immersive and viewer-oriented or viewer-centered exhibition experience could be the one word. So we have a lot of experience of exhibitions, different types of exhibitions. So we all know that exhibition is not just about one-way give or take. It would be better if it's interactive. And if we could link or include the experience or senses of the viewers into the exhibition using the new technologies like AI, that would be innovative too. And thirdly, it's actually one of my research interests these days, which is sustainability, which was also included in all presentations. So at Dongseo University, we built the Center for SDGs, published by the UN, and we also announced the ESG management policies. And it was so far, it wasn't really successful, in my personal opinion. So the presentations was an opportunity to look back upon what we have accomplished or failed to accomplish. And what I am interested in, especially these days, is future thinking based on AI technology. So we can dream of the future we like, along with the dystopian future that we always talk about when we envision the future as a way of warning ourselves. So sustainability is definitely the topic that I want to focus on. And the visitors and viewers, and in this case mostly that would be Busan citizens, so they can be included in as part of this exhibition. We can think of something as a scenario. So these are the keywords that I extracted from the presentations. And as was explained by Professor Kim Tae-man, the ocean element of Busan. And there could be something that Busan citizens are not even aware of as of yet. And Busan as a floating city is the theme that I've been thinking of as one of the themes for Expo. And I sort of felt that my vision laying out or unfolding in front of my eyes, listening to the presentations. So I believe there's a huge room for imagination. And we can probably exclude the dystopian picture out of this if we work hard enough. And I saw a silver lining out of the presentations. Yes, thank you very much for the insights, Professor Lee.
대학교 연문사
Now we are going to invite Professor Seo Kwang-dok from Pugyong National University. Good morning. My name is Seo Kwang-dok from the Institute for Humanities and Social Science at Pugyong National University. So two of the panelists have shared professional comments and diverse comments. So I will just share some of my wishes. So when I organized this session, I wanted to highlight the National Maritime Museum because now we are seeing an increasing number of such museums, but the first maritime museum was established in Busan 12 years ago. So I wanted to highlight two aspects, but I invited the former director and the current exhibition team leader. So I expected a great content from both of them. And my first wish is about the status of the museum. So it is located in Busan and it is a government organization managed by the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. So it is located in Busan. And second, it is a central organization, and we are seeing more and more maritime museums. But as the first maritime museum established in Korea, we have to lead all the related activities, such as the exhibition and content quality. And the other intention to organize this presentation was related to Professor Kim's presentation. So she shared examples of foreign maritime museums, and she said the ocean is the environment. And we are witnessing abnormal climate constantly. And one of the climate specialists made this impressive comment that we live on land. However, more than 70% of the planet is the ocean. So all of the land and continents are islands. So that is why we have to start from the ocean when we deal with the environmental issues. So we have to start to think from the perspective of natural science when we talk about the ocean. And marine historian conference was hosted recently. And how do they study the marine history in East Asia? And what are the features of East Asia and Korea? And we talked about the displaying technique or exhibition method. I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry, but Professor Go mentioned the creation. So AI will have a different approach from the digital exhibition. It is not a mere display of existing artifacts. It creates something new. I was highly interested in the presentation because it was very interesting. And last but not least, Mr. Cho is working actively in the field, and we work with Busanilbo, and we are releasing series. An exhibition is using AI, and now we are seeing the limits in the physical space. The Busan can be designed as a exhibition hall. So how can we tap into North Port? So I believe that Professor Cho has various ideas, and I would like to hear them later.
이렇게 담당하셨고 그 부산이라는 이런 것에 중점을
Thank you very much. He is the very person who organized this session, and he talked about the status of the Maritime Museum, and Incheon is preparing to establish their own Maritime Museum. Of course, we have to lead the activities as the first Maritime Museum, but we have to ensure the unique charm of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. So he shared his wish in this direction.
원래는 해양방
Last but not least, we were supposed to have staff members from Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and the person who's going to come here couldn't make it, so we invited Mr. Ko Gi-hwan instead, secretary. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, I am Ko Gi-hwan, and I am here in lieu of my boss, and I am going to share what we've done for the project that we conducted, and also what we are working on in terms of AI exhibition. So starting from 2010, the project for Maritime Museum, we've expanded our project scope, including many other cities. And as was mentioned, the development of technologies is closely linked to the development of the exhibition trends, marine exhibition. And in that sense, we will make sure that scientific development is well reflected in the advancement of the Maritime Museum and its collection. So it's always the government's concern that when you build any organization or institution, you have to make sure that that institution is visited by many audience or visitors. So I listened to all those presentations and seeing how different organizations and different scholars are thinking hard to reflect the current AI technologies. I also thought to myself that at the end of the day, it's all about contents that can really bring the collection and bring the exhibition closer to the viewers. So that should include sometimes AI technologies and other media art. But we also are confronted with some realities like budget and space limitation, resource allocation. So we have to also think about effective resource allocation and the use of such resources. So financial support and systemic and institutional support is the area that the government has to work on. That's my takeaway from the presentations. Thank you very much for the comment. So it's 11:52. There's not much time left. So we just heard the opinions shared by the panelists. But we'd like to invite more comments on the presentations. But I think I have to limit time. I'm sorry. So we'll go with the first presenter.
말씀을 드려야 되겠네요.
Okay, I will go first. So panelists shared great comments, so I took a note of their comments. And let me give you some answers. And Mr. Ko just said that there are many maritime culture institutions operated under the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and there are some people who have concerns over this. The local institution needs to have a clear identity, and we are taking that direction. And we will open a maritime museum in Incheon, and they will be specialized in the history of marine logistics. And the museum in Busan will continue to serve as the comprehensive maritime museum, which will deal with the history of maritime culture. And all of the different institutions will have a clear and distinct identities. That's the consensus among the institutions. And I talked about new technologies utilized for our new projects. So it might be suspicious because we are talking about the metaverse platform and we are talking about the digital ocean pavilion, which are not an easy task. However, taking this opportunity, I hope that there will be even higher interest so that we can utilize the technologies from the private sector, and I hope to garner the government support in subsidy and in other forms so that we can have a better opportunity to lead activities as a maritime museum in Korea. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Beck. Let's move on to Professor Kim.
네, 다시 발언할.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My presentation didn't include the AI aspect. I was the only one, so I am not in the right position to give the comments about the presentation because it should be about AI. So I'll just give comments about the presentation. And I really appreciated the presentation by Mr. Ko, Professor Ko. And I really got impressed by when she said AI is also about creation.
하는 이제 저의 입장에서는 창조를.
So my work is usually about the past. So creation happens when you start to notice things that are created, and anything is about reflecting the current issues because it's related to the genuine nature of the issue. So AI is all about prompt, the correct prompt. So this is where humanities must pay attention to, giving the right prompt to the AI technology. And also about intuition, I hugely agree with the point. And about education, well, museum, since it started in 17th century, it was all about educative value, and it has been much talked about, much discussed, and it was always about finding the right balance. So if I may add my point there, so museum giving some sort of satisfaction, sense of satisfaction, mental or aesthetic satisfaction, whatever it is. Museum is basically about giving such satisfaction, but museum should also be about serving as an educator. A museum should always be able to propose an issue for argument or food for thought. So museum collection should be about showing the past, showing the human history of adventuring into the ocean, but it should also be able to about coming up with the questions about the future direction. So that is my comment that can be added. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kim.
교수
Let us move on to Professor Ko.
네, 오늘 그 AI는 참
AI is such a difficult topic. When I was preparing for this presentation, I thought hard about this topic, and this idea came to my mind. We always use tools, and AI is the most intelligible tool we have ever seen, and it is an unprecedented type of tool. And how can we embrace this tool? So we have to think about that. So just looking at the existing artifacts is the transfer of knowledge and information. And when we first had Naver launched, there was the service named 지식인, which means that knowledgeable person. It was the service which brought Naver to the top. And it is not quality information all the time. It is just opinion and information shared among the general public. However, it helped us not to bother spending too much time to find something. But these days, the younger generation is using YouTube video clips to find information. However, AI will even give you a summary without your own efforts. So it is much more advanced and intelligible. So against this backdrop, if we think AI is almighty, or if it is competing against humankind, I think it is not a good idea. For example, let me talk about the arts community. In the past, drawing was the most important part of arts. Decades ago, we didn't have a positive view on people who design something with Photoshop and programs. They just click on something in the computer, so they didn't regard it as a creation. So this is the perspective of painters. They have this mindset that you have to use your hands to create something. However, computer has been penetrated in our daily lives, and programs have been developed. So now the key is how to utilize these tools. So we have a visual design and industrial design, and no one is raising concerns over such areas now. I think we are at a similar juncture now. The museum and exhibitions used to deliver the information based on the existing artifacts. That was the focus. But now we have this advanced tool, which is open to everyone. So there will be a blurred line between professional and amateur. So when we make a video, in the past, not everyone could do it. Only the professionals could do it. However, now we have this great tool, so even amateurs can make a great video, and it is easier to Photoshop, and it is easier to write. Not only the professionals and even the general public could enjoy this tool. So the mere delivery of information is not sufficient anymore. The general public should be involved in the process of creating something new. So instead of using the term of artifacts and heritage, I believe that we are going to use the word culture and experience more, because people can always come to the museum. That's why the museum should be transformed into a complex space where people can directly involved in the process of creation. I believe that this is not a distant future, so we shouldn't have a hostile position against this new tool. So even not the professionals have access to this new tool. That is the most important fact. And as I said, the ocean is still unknown to humankind. And we would like to know more about the sea and the ocean. That's why people's participation is even more important. We have to pull our imagination and our senses for maritime literature. So recently, I got the license as a scuba diver, and I always wanted to explore the deep sea. But after I experienced it, it was totally different. I had a huge fear of the sea, and even after I got my license, I still have a fear of the deep sea. It was so dark, and I was floating alone, and I've never felt that on land, even though I'm almost 50. So maritime culture might have these kind of features because it has not been known to the public. And it should go beyond the words and explanations and artifacts. Thank you very much.
예, 고맙습니다. 마지막으로 조정현.
Thank you so much, Leslie. President Cho. I just want to echo what was mentioned previously about scuba diving. I myself had an experience for scuba diving for about an hour. And you usually go to Jeju Sea or Komundo Sea. You can have some sort of visual, but if you go right beneath Gwangan Bridge, all you see is darkness. It's so blurry, so you can't have any visual, literally. So you have that much fear. So you go inside, you go underwater, then you certainly have completely different view or perspective about the ocean. And as was asked by Professor Saw, what should be the manner in which it should be done? Well, for me, I talked about space where you can actually see the exhibitions for view. And I'd like to mention the oceanic or marine mobility. So without having to dive into the ocean, we can think of something else like submarine with half or semi-submarine-ish device. So, or you can think of some AI technology. You don't have to dive into the ocean. You just stay on land and still see everything like you are underwater. So how can we put things on display, on view, using technologies and still create some differentiated experience? So the Marine City by UN Habitat could be a source of idea because it is seeking to elevate the access level or improve the access level by taking advantage of such a new technology while still basing on the legacy exhibition. So it's not just about curating. We should go beyond just the legacy curation experience. Yes, thank you very much for the comment. Maybe we can get some questions or comments from the floor, from the audience. So if you have any comments or burning questions, please raise your hand. And we can, of course, use the Q&A session. But if you have any burning question, please raise your hand. So there's none, and I'll take it as your consensus that the presentations and discussion session was perfect, that you got what you wanted from this session. So the session was the Humanities, Ocean Humanities session, and this was really truly inspiring and insightful. So I'd like to thank all the presenters and panelists for your informative and intuitive and insightful talks. Honored to have had you, and this is the wrap of the Humanities session. Thank you.
이렇게 해양은문화
Thank you very much for the moderation, and we'll see you back at 1 p.m. for the KIOST session. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you.